What's up, guys? Bachata Rockstar here. Apparently, I accidentally muted the last time I shot this video, so we're gonna do this again. Game with PoopDeck. Here we go. Alright, first things first. Grab the cutter. Always. Turn 1 cutter, 100% win rate, all day, every day. Best card. You notice there's also a storage silo out here. And I got that gambit that gives you 1 trade unless you draw a card, so I'm going to try to get that. 1 trade, draw a card. Oh, of course I hit the other Riper. 7 to 1 shot, but or 6 to 1? 1 out of 7, so it's 6 to 1. Yeah. Of course. Oh, Lord. But that's okay. We'll get the Ram Pilot. Maybe we can use that later. And it gives us 10 damage in the clip, too, so that's kind of nice. And PoopDeck here scraps 2 cards and buys the Cunning Captain? I think it's a little odd. I think the correct play here is actually to scrap a Viper and a Scout, and then pick up the storage silo to keep it away from me. I've indicated with my purchase of the Cutter and my use of the Gambit that I'm probably trying to go for the storage silo, so I think keeping that away from me is a good idea, and definitely would prevent me from getting a massive trade edge. Yeah. So I end up getting the patrol mech, mostly because I want to control scrap. I want to control reds as much as possible. I think you could make a pretty valid argument to go for the Star Market, because the Star Market would cancel out the damage of the patrol mech. It would trigger the cutter quite a bit. But I just want it. And I just want it because it's one of those things where I'm keeping it away from my opponent, but I'm also adding it to my own deck. It's giving me more trade. It's giving me more damage. It's potentially giving me a scrap. It's ultimately the best play. There's some thought to be given to Recycling Station, you know, maybe being able to draw into the cutter a lot. But, I mean, all I'm really doing is drawing into cutters, so I don't think cycling is like furthering a strategy yet. Mostly because the game just started, so I don't quite have a strategy fully realized yet. And neither does my opponent, so I'm okay with them having either one. I'm okay with PoopDeck having one of these 2 cards. And PoopDeck ends up going for the Blob Destroyer. So I think this is actually a pretty good decision here. Here's why. I have indicated that I'm going fairly defensive, right? I went with the cutter. I'm going with the... I bought the patrol mech. So I'm probably going some sort of scrap heal strategy, right? A very defensive, whittle a person down strategy. So a good way to beat said strategy is go aggro. Go attack. So I'm kind of okay with this purchase of the PoopDeck. My only concern is that there's no other attack cards out there. And so it's going to be very difficult to go aggro when the only aggro card you have is the Blob Destroyer. The other thing it does is it allows me to pick up Recycling Station or Star Market. So, not sure if that's the way you want to go. But Fortress of Oblivion flips, and again, I'm trying to control scrap. I'm trying to keep all the reds away, and it's a base. It'll combo with my patrol mech. It'll potentially give me 2 scraps. I think that's the way to go, even though I am leaving Star Market and Recycling Station out there. Ooh, cargo mech. That'd be nice. And my opponent ends up getting the Screecher, which probably is a little unlucky. Yeah. So, gets rid of the cargo mech. I think that's fine. Again, I've shown that I'm going for scrap pretty hard. And if I pick a cargo mech, this game's over. This gives PoopDeck a bit of a chance. I think I also would have scrapped to get rid of the Star Market as well. Because that's another like healing preventative blocking card which combos with the cutter. So I think I would have liked that a little bit better, but this is fine. So here's an interesting play. I end up going for the Predator. Here's why. PoopDeck's got the Screecher. PoopDeck has the Battle Blob. Not only am I trying to control Scrap, I also know very clearly PoopDeck is going aggro, specifically green aggro. So if I can keep the blobs away, that's going to not only prevent PoopDeck's strategy, it's going to further my own. Who doesn't like good damage? Maybe I pick up a few more blobs and then I become a blob deck. It's possible. When you do what's called hate buying, you're also adding that card to your deck. It's a hate buy because you'd hate for your opponent to have it, right? But when you buy it, it also gets added to your deck. So sometimes I'll be like trying to prevent my opponent's strategy, but I'll do it so well that I'll end up just taking on their strategy. And then now I pick up the recycling station. I think this is a little bit of a mistake. I think getting defense bot actually might have been better. Just because, again, if I'm really going hardcore to prevent the scrap, to stop my opponent from getting scrap, getting recycling station, it's kind of okay for them to have recycling station because they're just going to be cycling into other scouts. Into starters. They're going to toss starters to draw starters. Whereas if I have 3 scrappers, I'm going to scrap down really fast, and then in like 1 to 2 cycles, I'll have a super scrap down deck. And there's already 2 bases out there, so defense bot, I could pick up 2 bases too, and maybe I can go ham with that. But if nothing else, it keeps the scrap away. Now, fortunately, Supernova bails me out here. But look what happens. The wrecker flips. So now I'm in danger. If PoopDeck picks up the wrecker, there goes my scrap edge. So we gotta kind of hope. So it turns out PoopDeck ends up scrapping the wrecker, which I think is fine, and then scrapping the Peacekeeper. All good plays. Remember, I'm going scrap. I'm going blue-red, basically. And when you scrap one of the best red cards and you scrap one of the best blue cards, that's good. It's good. You want to keep that opponent away. You're dealing 9 damage. I'm going to be down into the 20s now. Potentially PoopDeck picks up another couple of aggro cards here and, just blasts me to death. It's certainly possible. But instead picks up the cargo pod. I think this is a little bit of a mistake here, too. I think getting the Alliance Frigate is the better play. Because remember, she does have that yellow hero. PoopDeck could potentially pick up other yellow cards. And I think it deals more damage. Whereas the cargo pod, it only deals damage if it combos. Yeah, it gives you trade, but what are you really trying to go after here that you would need extra trade for? You're an aggro deck. Just keep going aggro. Buy the cards with the biggest number in the little red circle. So I end up getting Alliance Frigate because that card's great for my deck, right? The blue combos with the blue, it gives me damage. Maybe I pick up a yellow later on, who knows? And then I end up scrapping a Viper, all good. So even though we're down 41 to 31, I've secretly got 10 damage in Gambits here. So it may seem like I'm behind, but this game's actually pretty even, at least in terms of life total. So the real question now is PoopDeck's aggro going to be realized before my scrap? So it's a bit of a race at this point. These next 2 turns for each of us are going to be really important and are going to really decide the game. This is the time when you want to have effective turns. And this is a weird play. Right? You're ahead on life. You have the more aggro of decks. Why are you getting Trading Post? Are you worried about your life total? And if so, why are you worried about it now? Maybe PoopDeck looked at the gambits and said, oh no, I'm actually not as far ahead as I think. But I think the correct play here, get the Ram. Or get the Bioformer. Something. Grab some more damage. Don't worry about life. Just go all in. Go aggressive. Because that's the way you're going to beat a deck that is trying to scrap and trying to play the long game, which my deck is clearly trying to do. So, I kind of don't like this play. I think this is... Some of the other decisions that were made before this, you know, there are lots of arguments that could be made either way. I think this is probably the first, like, clear mistake. Yeah, like, I don't understand this. 3 plus 2 is 5. You could have gotten a Ram. Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah, so you got to scrap there. You got to get rid of this. You got to get rid of the base. You got to start punching damage to the face. But should have grabbed the Ram, or at least the Bioformer. You know, maybe you want to have a deck or a card that'll sit out there and trigger your other greens or something. But yep, toss the 2 scouts, draw some extra damage. This is good. Draw another card, looking good. So now I'm grabbing the Ram. So now I've made the decision. Now it's time for me to go aggro. I've still got 8 damage, you know, in the gambits, and I'm starting to pick up pick up a blob. I pick up a little more damage. Like, I've got a recycling station now. I've pretty much made the decision after that turn. It's time to start going for the throat. It's time to start closing out this game. It's time to start winning this game. I'm going to become the aggro deck now. So this is what I mean when I say these 2 turns are going to be really important. My opponent has now tried to pivot. Has now tried to change their strategy. And I have also pivoted. I have gone from try to scrap, try to play defense, try to get down to become more efficient, to just going, forget it. We're efficient enough. Let's go. Let's attack. Let's go now. And so you notice what's happened here is we've both changed our strategies. Whereas PoopDeck has changed their strategy to be more defensive, I've changed my strategy to be more offensive. We'll see who wins. Yep. Now there's a pickup of the Bioformer. It's a little late. Yes, the Bioformer is going to go in and it's going to cycle, but that should have been bought a turn ago instead of now. Now you've got a Trading Post that's just sitting in your deck for no reason. See, the other strange thing is, too, let's say for the sake of argument that you have decided, okay, it is time to pivot. It is time to change. It is time to go defensive. Why not pick up the Trading Post then? If you've decided that being defensive, playing a longer game strategy is the way to go, Trading Post is actually the better pickup than the Bioformer. You know, if you can set up 2 Trading Posts, you can block, you can heal, you can get trade. You know, it gives you a lot of options in that sense. So, if you pick up the Bioformer first, you've committed to the aggro strategy. But if you decided to go away from an aggro strategy, going Trading Post is a better decision. Excuse me. So then I pick up the yellow hero right here to draw. But I also knew it was going to combo with an Alliance Frigate. Didn't know I was going to draw it, but it was a good play. It's a good purchase. You know, it's potentially a card draw and 3 more damage, right? So I get very lucky to combo Cutter and Alliance Frigate coming up on this turn. My opponent, on the other hand, gets a little unlucky. See, again, somewhat unclear strategy, right? Why get the Trading Post if you're going to go with the blobs? Why get the Bioformer a turn late when you picked up the Trading Post if you were going to go aggro? Right? And so my opponent hasn't really clearly committed to a strategy, when they already had a strategy. The strategy was go for the face, go aggro. There really was no reason to stop. Unfortunately, they started to fear. I think they started to fear for their own life total. Um, and now they're kind of trying to bridge the gap and like play a little defensively, play a little bit aggro, which is a good idea. If you're going to go aggro, you need just enough healing, just enough protection. Like 1 or 2 bases is pretty much all you need. For the most part, you're just going aggro, right? Because you can't get whittled down. You need to mitigate damage a little bit. So that's the thing, though, is there is a plan, but if you deviate from the plan, especially on those crucial mid-game turns, it can throw your momentum off by a turn or two, and then oftentimes that's the turn or two that kills you. Right, so here we go. We scrap, we get the damage. Boom. We get 6. We pick up the Frontier Station. Again, we're looking to grab damage, and we're looking to protect our face. This card does both of those things. And don't forget, we still got 8 in the clip. 16 in the clip and 1 in the hole. Ah! That's actually bad. That's actually better for our opponent. Because now, so look, PoopDeck just went back to playing defensively again. Bought some blues, bought some healing, right? So maybe PoopDeck is thinking, all right, I'll protect my face now and try to go a little longer. Well, Galactic Summit gives PoopDeck that chance. Now I don't have lethal anymore. So here's a little bit of a mistake as well. I think the right play would have been to actually use this 8 damage and get him down as low as possible. Right? Because then they would have been down to 6. Then maybe I could have drawn enough to just punch through. But instead, look what happens. You get a nice heal up here. Boom. But now we got a base wall set up. Yeah, it's gonna be tough for PoopDeck to come back now. Yeah, see, I don't like this play either. Because with 3 and 3 here, right, you could have actually picked up the plasma vent, and then that would have given you enough damage to get through all of these. I think this is more a product of just not seeing it. It's entirely possible that PoopDeck is playing very fast at this point. Yeah. See, now I'm just protecting. Just putting the clamps down, doing everything I can to secure this win. Right? The way I lose is if I get aggroed out. So, everything I can do to just protect my face, heal, be safe. Like, that's what I need to do. Yep. Boom, and it's over. So, I mean, it's a good game. I can see what PoopDeck was trying to do. But I think PoopDeck got a little... maybe like played a little too much on instinct, and maybe didn't stop to think about their plays and stop to think about their plan. I do recall that this game we played over a couple of days, so sometimes you just forget what you were trying to do. Like these turns are happening one after another, but when we're playing the game, they're not always doing it. And sometimes when you hop back into the game, you're like, what was I trying to do? I don't know. Oh, my life total's low. I'll heal. And then a day passes and you come back to the game and then you're like, oh no, I need to kill him. I'll go aggro, So that's kind of what I think happened. That's the way it sort of feels when you watch this game, is it feels like, a lot of time passed in between turns and the game plan was sort of forgotten. So one skill that you're going to want to develop if you're going to play 48-hour games is the ability to make sure that when you hop back into your games, look at your opponent's decks, see what they're trying to do. Look at your own deck, see what you're trying to do, and then try to remember what your plan was. This is why I don't recommend playing 48-hour games in general, but especially I don't recommend playing a bunch of 48-hour games at once, because it's very easy to forget where the hell you are and what the hell you're trying to do. And that can affect your win percentage. There are games that you will lose because you just weren't paying attention enough or didn't assess the situation well enough because you forgot which game you were playing. So me personally, I like to play real-time games as much as possible. And maybe that means less games overall, but I think it does mean that I'm paying attention for more of the games overall. If you only get a half-hour break at work, I mean, that's 2 to 3 games tops, Sometimes you can squeeze out 4, but usually that's what I end up playing, 2 to 3 games, on a break or something. And sometimes that's all the time you have to devote to a game. So it's better to devote that half-hour period to 2 or 3 really well-played games than to 7 or 8 poorly played games. Honestly, that's why I think most people's win percentages, go below 50%, is because they're just not focused on the game at hand and focused on the, what they're doing, because they're just playing too many games. Honestly, that's the thing that has helped my win percentage more than anything, is just switching to real-time games. That being said, I know not everybody has that kind of time, so what you got to do is train yourself to be better at assessing the game state and the game situation whenever you hop into a game that isn't, completed yet. So, I kind of like our strategy that we employed in this game. We had a plan. We, for the most part, followed it through. Made 1 or 2 hate buys, which I thought were really good, and those hate buys turned into a viable strategy. So, you really got to be able to adjust on the fly. And that's what makes the best Star Realms players out there, is they do have the ability to adjust on the fly and to come up with new plans and try to execute them. Because each card that comes out can potentially change your strategy, and you need to be ready for that. But what you can see here is I like PoopDeck's focus on being more aggressive. PoopDeck and I have played several games over the course of the last week or two, and you can see PoopDeck's plans going from, I don't really have a plan, I'm just going to buy whatever comes out, to, okay, I'm going to be focused, I'm going to be aggressive, or I'm going to be focused, I'm going to go base. There's a clear plan there most of the time. And unfortunately, the plan just kind of got away. Kind of got away from the plan. It happens. What else I would say is most of the time you're just going to want to kind of commit to your plan. Only when your opponent is hard countering what you're doing do you want to get away from what you're trying to do. Or if a card comes out that is just super duper good for your opponent's deck, then you need to take it away. But for the most part, you want to just kind of stick with your plan, with your idea. And the earlier you can figure out your plan, the better. And the earlier you can further and execute your plan, the better. So that's the other thing I would say. Once you've decided on a strategy, especially one of aggression, you're very, very likely to just have to go, fuck it. All aggro, all aggression, all the time. Every card that's got a red circle on it, I'm buying it and I'm going for the face. So that level of commitment, sometimes that's what you need to do. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. It's a little long, but there's a lot to talk about, break down. And, I realized some things because it's the second time I'm shooting this. So thanks again, guys.